Hi, you guys. Ooh. Finally. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 13 Reunion Part 1. I'm going to drop some tea I was sent. Oh my gosh, so much. And I'm going to remind you a few things tonight. And then I'm going to do a recap as we go, kind of as a way to talk about everything, to follow it. So first of all, I want to talk about something that was really surprising. Some Real Housewives of Beverly Hills current cast members and ex-cast members have been called out for fake Hermes bags. Huh? Let me show you. So you may have heard of the fake Birkin Slayer. They are experts at Hermes bags, and they look at photography and I guess zoom in, and they can tell what's a real Birkin and what's a fake. Well, this one came up as fake. This is, of course, Yolanda Hadid. There's her fake Birkin, allegedly. And then look who else popped up on the list. That's right. Anne-Marie Wiley sporting a fake Birkin bag on the black carpet. Yep. Called out for it. Fake Hermes strikes again. Ding, ding. A lot of fans get pissed when people wear fakes on the show because A, it's not really endorsing the right kind of messaging for these big couture brands that are, supportive to these platforms. But B, they don't like it because they're pretending to be so rich and brag about their lifestyle and money. And then they carry fakes. It's sort of like a lie, So that's the thing, right? I don't care, but other people care, so I bring it to your attention. So it was good to see Andy Cohen at the reunion, given the snowstorm that's been hitting as of late. Okay, so the patrons asked me to research two things. One was, is Dorit and Kyle really mad at each other right now, like right this second? That's number one. And number two, the question was, why was Kyle hanging out with Dorit at the bar mitzvah like 2 weeks ago if they're not friends anymore? I mean, let's face it, Dorit Kemsley just showed Kyle Richards' private text messages to Erica Jane Girardi on camera, which she knows is going to make the edit into the reunion. So why the hell would Kyle be hanging out with her? The first thing I want to say is the bar mitzvah happened before the promo aired. And so I don't think Kyle Richards was aware of the text messages yet. Also, you don't get a copy of the reunion till just a few days before, sometimes as little as 2 days before, sometimes as much as 5 days before. So there's a lot of reason to believe that Kyle Richards, when she went to the bar mitzvah, wasn't aware of the text messages yet leaked by Dorit to be on the reunion. Now that part of the answer is from my personal experience with being on the show. But the next part comes from Kyle Richards herself. So now here's an exclusive and a secret. Kyle said that Dorit's a snake and also said that she didn't know that Dorit had dropped those text messages on the reunion when she went to the bar mitzvah and was hanging out with Dorit and kind of dancing with her, but not really. But that the fans thought they were still friends because they were at the same bar mitzvah together. Yep. Snake. Here's a quote on something I can't share with you. I just cannot with this situation. She's such a snake. Now, to be fair, I told you guys a long time ago that Kyle Richards and Dorit's relationship was over. I sensed it ages ago. Dorit was trying to keep presenting their relationship as solid, but Kyle Richards, it was obvious from her behavior, something pissed her off, and she was done with Dorit and saw her as manipulative and using her, and the social climber that has been alleged against Dorit in the past amongst people, saying that Dorit uses people to social climb, and so does PK. PK is a master networker. Anywho, just thought I'd remind you of that. I mean, just a lot of snakes around here. Got to be careful. So I had shown a picture in the post of my YouTube channel of Kathy Hilton in the same dress at her Christmas party as at the reunion because she makes an appearance, and they are on different days. And I thought it was odd because Paris Hilton publicly won't wear the same dress more than once. And they also have a store where they wear something like 2 times and they sell it, okay, up in Bel Air. And so I was like, it's so strange to me that in these 2 very high profile events, Kathy Hilton would wear the same dress. And I wondered if she hadn't gotten the dress for free and it was expensive. So she had to actually wear it more than one time to make sure it received a certain amount of attention, which is what I think it was. Some people were like, no, she's really humble. I'll show you an example. But no, I think it was more that she got the dress free. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me show you. This came from Reality Diamond Freddie. He wrote me this from an experience he had with Kathy Hilton a while ago. He said, in regards to Kathy wearing the same dress, I think she's the type that buys very expensive things that are timeless. Having met her when I worked at Harvey Nichols, love Harvey Nichols, in Knightsbridge, whilst still in university, she's pretty casual during the day, but isn't flash. Yeah, I'd say that that's come across on the show. But it's still unusual to have 2 big press events and a whole professional stylist team and wear the same dress twice. And I just think the reason she did was she had to really get the dress attention. And I think at her Christmas party, she didn't get it enough attention. So the reunion was a way to slam dunk that threshold she needed to meet with the designer, especially, like I said, if it was very expensive, so that she could get it free. Paris Hilton would not approve. So the part 1 reunion has a few highlights I just want to overview for you. First of all, Dorit and Kyle get into it with each other. Kyle tries to pull an Adrienne Maloof on Dorit. She says, like, you're making our friendship into a lot more than it really is. And Dorit gets really resentful at that, although it's true, honestly. For the last 2 years, it's been true. Pretty close. And so, but, you know, on camera, nobody knows that. Dorit knows nobody knows that. And Dorit's always cuddling up to Kyle and Mauricio, as we know from earlier in my video, or maybe just Mauricio. But needless to say, the brand is that they're close friends. So Dorit's trying to keep that up, and because it works for her. And Kyle's like, oh, that ruse is over. I'm done with this. I'm letting that go now. And so Dorit is left to kind of look like she's using Kyle for clout. And then Kyle Richards not only says her relationship with Dorit hasn't been really there for a while too, but she also calls out that Dorit likes to exaggerate her relationship with Kathy Hilton too, to further exhibit that maybe Dorit is interested in Kyle and Kathy more for the Hilton energy, and Kyle Richards being the OG, let's say, of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, then she'd like to let on.
Spent time with Kathy. I didn't want to get in the middle, but
you just know her that well.
Kyle,
I mean, it's not like you.
I had never spent time with Kathy with you up until she
I'm saying in
filmed the show.
Party. My point is, we were closer, and the conversations that we were having led me to believe that, you know,
that what?
That you seem to be very disappointed in her behavior, and
only when you would tell me stories that I never knew about from the past. Obviously, I felt bad. They were stories, and I don't want to bring up here. That is the only time that I would say, "Oh my goodness."
No, it was the stuff that happened about Aspen and everything too.
What?
Anyway, I'm not going to get into that.
No, I do. I want to.
No, I'm not going to get into that because of you, because of my family and my sister. It feels like to me, in that moment, like at the reunion last year, the people didn't know, they were really coming after me, and they were like, rah, rah, to Kathy. And it seemed like when you said, I think Kathy just wants some support.
She wants you to accept a little bit of responsibility in this.
I don't want you to interject in this right now.
No problem.
To me, it feels like you wanted to be on the side of whatever the audience thinks and agrees with. It seems like I've noticed that a number of times.
With me?
Yes, like
I don't even follow what the audience. I never.
I was like, she just wants to be on the side of the audience.
Didn't meet Kyle.
That, to me, it feels like you care more about the audience. And like
that is the most hysterical thing I've ever heard.
Is it? Is it though? Dorit is very good at her videos, right? Her fashion videos, and she knows how to work the audience pretty well for somebody who doesn't care. Just saying. So there's 3 things that could really hurt Dorit in real life. Okay. Number one, being a clout chaser, or called one by Kyle Richards and Kathy Hilton. Number two, that her robbery story is not real, which Garcelle will call out in part two, that she doesn't believe that Dorit's robbery was a real robbery because the robber leaves the cell phone at the gate, which she thought was very unusual. She doesn't necessarily say whether she believes it was an insurance fraud like some of the weirdos believe, because that's what Dorit calls the people who believe that. Or if she thinks that it was just like a made up thing for a storyline. But Garcelle definitely calls out that there's something fishy going on with Dorit and this robbery in next week's show. Remember, Garcelle mentions that she feels like she saw jewelry that was supposedly stolen on Dorit after the fact. And then, of course, is going to bring up the cell phone next week. So we'll have to see how that goes. But this would be the second worst nightmare for Dorit to come up on the reunion. Now, the third thing, of course, would be Mauricio and her flirting, which I don't know if anybody's going to have the balls to do. But, oh my God, would it be so good? So then Crystal Minkoff and Anne-Marie get into it. Anne-Marie calls Crystal a liar, that she constantly is lying on the show. And Crystal then says, no, Anne-Marie, there's lots of examples of you lying, like your professional degree, etc., that you have. You said you were a doctor and you aren't, you know, that whole thing. So they fight back and forth and they don't really resolve the situation. Crystal believes that Anne-Marie's a liar and Anne-Marie believes Crystal is a liar. Crystal, you did good. And then Crystal turns her eyes on Dorit and says, how dare you call me a child bride? Because in my world as an Asian person, that has connotations of like a mail order bride. And Dorit's like, I didn't know that. And I'm sorry. I didn't think that way. And Garcelle's like, see, I told you that she was full of microaggression. She didn't say that, but like basically, you know, she's a Karen or whatever. And then Anne-Marie talks about how her mom died from cancer in her lungs and she never talked about it on the show, but she was dealing with it the whole time, which is why she was maybe very opinionated and aggressive. She said that her husband was her best friend. I did find out something about Anne-Marie that I didn't know, and that was, did you know that Anne-Marie was adopted and her mom and dad did not want her when she was young, and she ended up with a wonderful mother who's the one that passed away and took care of her so well. But her adopted mom wrote on the adoption papers that she never wanted to know Anne-Marie or have her come find her. And so that kind of really bothered Anne-Marie, and she's been on a sort of journey to kind of digest the fact that she's been adopted and her mom never wanted to make contact. And she did try a little bit, but there was a seeming pushback, like the papers, you know, kind of reflected, which made her feel really sad. Like, why wouldn't her mom really want to know who she is? So I wanted to mention that because that would make the loss of her non-biological mother a lot harder on her, right? So I think we might see some of that next season. She also said she struggled with the Bravo fans that didn't like her, which there were quite a lot of them that were very vocal, and that she internalized it and it really hurt her. She couldn't like separate it like some Bravo people can. I.e. me. I'm like, Anne-Marie, don't sweat it. People tell me they hate me. I got one just today. Want me to show it? I will. Let me show it to you. It'll make Anne-Marie feel better if she watches this video. Everyone gets some of this hate every once in a while. I don't even know who this is. I love my Michelle. Nobody likes you. I like me, and that's all that matters. Ha! Unfortunately for Anne-Marie, she studied the show, but not the fan base, and she came for some very loved Bravo influencers, and that's a big no-no in our world. Now, some of you guys wanted to know if this was true. It is true, okay? Crystal and Kyle did confront Anne-Marie at a Sutton event about all of her transphobic and racist things that she's said and done online. The second comment is not totally true. Garcelle actually 100% had Crystal and Sutton's back in this argument and stood up against Anne-Marie in the fight. And so the second part of the gossip is not totally accurate. So Garcelle, it says, joined at some point, but she was having problems after, thinking it would look bad. No. Garcelle actually had Crystal and Sutton's back 100% in this argument, and it did occur, and they did cut it. You might have noticed I didn't talk about that one, and it was going around. Well, that's because I wanted to wait till I validated it. It's a very serious conversation that happened on the show, if that was true. And if it wasn't true, it was not something that should be going around like gossip. And so I wanted to find out. And yeah, through the streets, I found out what I just said. And I'm glad that they did call that out, because that was something that really upset a lot of the fans watching the show about Anne-Marie and her husband, that they felt done some things that were transphobic. Now, some fans will tell you that they don't think that Anne-Marie's positions that she's put on a line are transphobic, that's an extreme viewpoint. But there's quite a few fans that would say, no, it's horrific what she said. The big question is, why didn't Andy want to air that? And I'll tell you why. Because Andy wants to keep Anne-Marie Wiley on the show. And I could tell in the reunion tonight that he's keeping her. Although you guys don't like it, he's going to try to keep her. See if you like her maybe next season. Oh, and don't worry, I have more tea, but I'll spill it next week, okay? So come back and watch my part 2 reunion recap. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And if you have questions, leave them in the chat in the Patreon, and I'll answer them. Okay.